Hey, welcome to Chaplain Chat. I'm actually in my office, and today is Monday. We are in Holy Week right now, and I wanted to try something, put it out. If you like it, you'll watch it. If you don't like it, you won't watch it, and that's okay too. But this is what I want to call a Chaplain Chat, a quick glance, quick run through Holy Week, and I wanted to get it out as soon as possible. Last Sunday, some churches celebrated what's called Palm Sunday. It's we remember Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, and remember the people yelling Hosanna as they're coming in, as Jesus comes in, and I could see the excitement of the people thinking, oh, there's Jesus, there's the Messiah, and they're yelling Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. But I've often wondered, did they really understand what the Messiah was about? Do we? You know, now if my son watches this, he knows I'm going to use this example because I've been using it for some 25 years. But when my son was about 5 years old, 5 or 6, I'll never forget this. I was finished preaching on Palm Sunday. We're driving home, and in the back seat, my son, who's about 5 or 6, Andrew, he's about 5 or 6 years old, he starts yelling, "Hoota, Daddy, hoota." And I go, "What, Andrew?" He goes, "Hoota, hoota." I go, "What are you talking about, Andrew?" He says, "I'm doing hoota to Jesus." And then he took out a little paper palm branch that he made in Sunday school. And he's going, "Hoota, hoota." And I said, "Andrew, were you trying to say Hosanna?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, Daddy, Hosanna." He goes, "Hosanna, Hosanna." Well, you know, I couldn't help but think, and that poor kid has heard this illustration almost all of his life. But the people in the streets that day were yelling Hosanna, but did they really understand what the Messiah was about? Did they really get it? They could have just as well been saying Hoota. So travel with Jesus on Palm Sunday. And when you read Matthew, Mark, and Luke, as he comes through the streets, the next event you're going to find is that Jesus he goes to the temple, and you're going to see him overturn the money changers and with the whip, and he's angry, he's furious. He sees the money changer there, and you're going to follow him in this journey this last week of his life. He yells out and he goes, this is my house. It's supposed to be a place of prayer, but you've turned it into a den of robbers. He is angry, he is mad, he is furious. Follow Jesus in the last week of his life. Be in the event. Would Jesus ever do that today in our lives? Follow with Jesus when he celebrates his last Passover with his disciples. See, this is all in Holy Week. Read about it in the Gospels. Read how he begins a new tradition, I guess, with Christians. We call it the Lord's Supper or the Eucharist. Read about how he kind of breaks the traditional ways of doing Passover, and he passes bread around, and he says, "This is my body which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." He takes the cup. He says, "This cup is my new covenant, my blood shed for you. Do this in remembrance." Something brand new. Be in that room. Experience that again. Now, John's Gospel doesn't record that, but John's Gospel records something else that may have taken place in that upper room. You see, the disciples, even on that last Passover, I'm sure they're jockeying for position. You know, I want to be next to Jesus. I want to be number one. And Jesus does something that John's Gospel records. Be there. He gets up and washes their feet. Oh, you got to read about that. Jesus washes their feet. Read about when he comes up to Peter, and Peter says, "No, you're not going to wash my feet." And Jesus says, "Peter, you got to let me do this. You got to let me do this." Jesus is doing it. Why? Because is it that we're called to be foot washers? Here's an interesting thought. Think about this. Would you rather wash somebody's feet or have somebody wash your feet? I've been in a lot of foot washing services. I have washed people's feet. There are times I feel so humble, so pastoral. Oh, look what I'm doing. I'm washing feet like Jesus. I will never forget a time I was at a foot washing service. High school kids. I got done washing their feet, sitting there feeling so religious. I'm thinking, oh, look at everybody looking at me. Oh, wow, look at that, the pastor washing people's feet. A high school girl came up to me. And she says, Pastor, take your shoes and socks off. I'm going to wash your feet. And I got a little upset because I was supposed to be the foot washer. And she looks at me and she says a second time, Pastor, take your shoes, socks off. She didn't ask me a third time. Boy, I talk about humility, having her wash my feet. Wow. Experience that. Go with Jesus when he goes to the garden and he prays and he asks the disciples, stay awake, don't fall asleep, keep awake. And they fall asleep on him. I wonder if we fall asleep on Jesus when he needs us the most. Follow Jesus when he gets arrested. Read about this. And the terrible mock trial, bogus trial. Be Peter when he follows from the distance and denies Jesus not once but 3 times, which Jesus told him who he was going to do. Be Peter. I think we all deny him. Be Judas. I think of the times we've all betrayed him. Follow Jesus through his trial. If you dare, follow Jesus when they're whipping him. Whipping him. Whipping him. You know, some of you have seen The Passion, and there's a scene where they're just whipping Jesus, and there's a part of us that's saying, oh my gosh, when you get to the crucifixion, this is just... That scene reminded me of when I was in high school. I think I was a freshman in high school. The musical Jesus Christ Superstar came out. A lot of Christians were really upset with that because there was no resurrection scene in it. It was all musical. I had a friend that forced me to listen to that. I went over to his house. I was a freshman in high school. And he says to me, hey, Sears, I dare you to listen to this whole musical. He had all 4 records. Records were big round things that we played music on. I dare you, Sears, to listen, because he thought it was going to mock Jesus. And some people thought it did. Like, yeah, I'll listen to it. I listened to the whole musical. When I got to the part of his whipping, you see, I always understood the divinity of Jesus, but I never could understand the humanity. That whipping sound. All of a sudden I was there. I'm going, oh my God. When my friend came in after it was over, he said, what do you think of that? I said to my friend, thank you. Because I understood now the humanity. Be there when he's being whipped. And if you dare, if you have the courage, go to the cross. Somebody once said to me, you can't really understand the glory of Easter unless you know the agony of the cross. Get to the cross. Experience Jesus' death on the cross for us again. Listen to when he cries out his last words, it is finished. And that's not a cry of defeat. It's really a cry of victory. It's really Jesus saying, I did it. I did the plan. I did what you asked me to do. People, I want to encourage us all this week, if you see this, journey with Jesus through Holy Week. Follow along. Be there in the event. Get to the cross. Experience again what he does for all of us on the cross. You see, if you can get to the cross, experience the agony of the cross, oh, you'll be ready for the glory of Easter. See, the good news is, for those who have a relationship with Jesus, we're always Easter people. But this week, this Holy Week, journey with Jesus. God bless. See you next time on Chaplain Chat. Now I got to get up and turn this off.